Warning: the Not Real Art podcast is intended for creative audiences only. The Not Real Art podcast celebrates creativity and creative culture worldwide. It contains material that is fresh, fun and inspiring and is not suitable for boring old art snobs. Now, let's get started and enjoy the show.
Greetings and salutations, creative people. Welcome to Not Real Art. It's a podcast that celebrates creativity and creative culture worldwide. I'm your host, Sourdough. And on today's episode, I'm honored to be joined by my dear friend, Michael Fish Herring.
Here I am.
Hey, Fish.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. It's so good to see you, brother.
Oh, it's good to be here.
By the way, this is take two for us.
Yeah.
This is take two. I want the audience to know that we in podcast culture, there's a joke. They say you're not a professional podcaster until you lose an episode, and it was your episode that made me a professional podcaster because essentially we lost your episode.
It was so much fun and so great, but you forgot to press record. Yeah.
No, it turns out that's an essential part of the process, the recording process. But hey, you know what? It was a dress rehearsal for the main event, which is today.
Yeah. Regardless, we had a good time and had some good food.
And you took me to an amazing sushi restaurant.
Yeah. Mon Sushi.
Yeah, Mon Sushi on Ventura at Tampa or something, right? Something like that. Near Tampa? Yeah.
Not far from there. Yeah.
Right. Well, last time we were together, we spent a lot of time talking about your trip. You'd gone to played at the Prince tribute, which was amazing. But here you are again, fresh off the road.
Right.
Where are you coming from?
Most recently, Moscow. Actually, the last two shows I did were in Moscow. One ended the tour. Then I was home for about 3 weeks, and then we went back for a private show in Moscow.
Okay.
I just got back a couple days ago.
You were with Christina, yeah?
Yeah. I've been with Christina Aguilera for just about 17 years now.
Wow. It's like family, right? At this point.
Yeah. Dysfunctional family. Yeah.
Well, you put the fun in dysfunctional, right?
Yeah. It's been on and off, but it's been great. I think the last time we talked, I wasn't expecting to go back on the road.
Yeah.
I was trying to stay home, and I ended up doing another couple tours and a run in Vegas.
Right. Yeah. Vegas.
Now we're going back to Vegas and then doing another European run.
So what are the dates for Vegas? Because last time you went to Vegas, I threatened that Channing and I would come out. It didn't work out, but I'm serious about wanting to make that happen. When are you going to be in Vegas?
We're going back. We're starting up again on September 20th.
Okay. And you're there for how long's the residency?
I think we're there for 3 weeks.
Okay.
And then I think we're going back for New Year's Eve, and then then there's more dates to follow.
Okay.
It's going to be an ongoing thing.
Well, I'm cautiously optimistic that we can make it work this time.
It's a really good show.
Yeah.
It's a big spectacle of a show, and I don't know if it's my natural environment, but there's a couple of moments during the show where I get to cut loose. Mm-hmm. Actually one moment so far during this Vegas show where I get to step out and kind of be me.
Right. What is your natural environment?
I think the studio at this point is more my natural environment.
Yeah.
It's a more creative environment.
Yeah.
Doing a gig with a pop star, that's their environment.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm just there to support.
Yeah.
And hopefully make it better in some kind of way if I can.
Right.
And that's what that role's always been.
Mm-hmm.
There's the occasional artist where, they want you to really be more creative and put in bits of yourself.
Yeah.
And I have been able to do that with Christina here and there because there's a lot of parts in, there's an element of pop music that doesn't really work with guitar. Mm-hmm. Guitar is a rock instrument, and sometimes to make the pop music more exciting, you got to make it rock.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've been with her 17 years. Has the rest of the crew been with her that long?
There's two of us.
Yeah.
Rob Lewis is the musical director, who's, we've been friends since the mid-90s.
Shout out, Rob.
Yep. Rob he's a genius. He really is.
Wow. It's saying a lot.
I don't say that about too many people.
Yeah.
Rob really is a genius. He's a brilliant.
You say it about him and you say it about me. These are the
right.
only two
Yeah.
people.
It's just you two. And maybe Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, maybe Stevie.
Yeah. He's third on the list. No, Rob's been, we've been working together for quite a long time. A lot of respect for him and his arrangements and the way he handles an artist and his vision and just the way he creates.
Why don't you go ahead? Sorry.
He does a lot of really incredible arrangements when you wouldn't expect that at a pop show. Mm-hmm. Just the sheer musicality of what he brings to anything is pretty astounding.
Yeah. What are some of the other artists that he's worked with?
Rob has worked with, I think he started with Brian McKnight when he was a student at Berkeley, and Patti LaBelle, and then we both worked with Christina, Tony Braxton, and
got it.
The gigs we've done together is Christina, New Kids on the Block, Boys to Men, Backstreet Boys, Tony Braxton, 98 Degrees, TLC. There's more.
Well, aren't you guys doing something with Nickelodeon together right now?
Yeah. Can
you talk about that? I don't want to bring it up if you can't.
I'm sure we can. We just wrapped shooting the first season of a show called America's Most Musical Family.
Great idea.
So it's a competition show, competition show for families.
It's a great idea.
Some super talented kids.
Absolutely.
Not just kids, adults too. It's a family show.
Affair, yeah.
But it's great to see kids come together and work together, and it's an awesome environment.
Yeah,
it's great. We had a lot of fun doing it. Rob's a musical director on that and doing all the arrangements, and brought a couple of us in to play and back up the talent, make the show a little more exciting musically. So,
when does it debut?
Not quite sure.
Yeah,
the end of September, maybe October,
sometime in the fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a great concept. And by the way, kind of fucking obvious. Like the fact that it took someone this long to come up with that idea. Maybe they've been working it for a while, but I think it's, really great that they're doing it. Because I've known a lot of musical families in my life. In fact, I'm thinking like my buddy Dave Scott, his whole family is incredibly musical. Like several Christmases ago, for the gift to their friends and family, they all went into the recording studio and recorded a record of all the Christmas songs, mom, dad, brother, sister, all five of them. And I mean, I've got it. I'll play it for you sometime. It's fucking great. Like they're fantastic. Cool. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I came from a slightly musical family. My grandfather was a violinist. That's what got me started.
As I understand, quite an accomplished violinist.
Yeah.
No?
He was a working musician.
Yeah.
That's what gave me the idea of, I could do that for a job.
Yeah.
But that we'll go off on another tangent with that.
Yeah, but so your family wasn't the kind of family that was like, get a real job. Like music was a legitimate pursuit.
Yeah. No, it was never looked down upon. It was never like you're going to have to fall back on something.
Right.
It was a job just like any other job.
How old were you when you were displaying your musical acumen?
Oh, man.
I mean, were you like singing around the house and someone said, oh, wow, he can sing? Or
no,
what?
I think, oddly enough, the very first instrument I started playing around with, I had a plastic red, white, and blue guitar.
I think I had the same one.
It was like Stars and Stripes on it.
Yeah.
And I think like an uncle or great uncle and aunt had given me. Mm-hmm. It was kind of like a Buck Owens looking, little plastic guitar with nylon strings. I had that I would drag around the house, and I had a plastic trumpet. And my very first aspiration as a musician was to play at the local racetrack.
Right. Okay.
Play trumpet at the racetrack. And I actually sent a letter. This was it was called Liberty Bell Racetrack in Philadelapia.
Yeah.
Which doesn't exist. No, it's a mall.
Yeah. Got it right.
Yeah,
and the mall doesn't exist anymore.
It's a fucking mall. I don't even think the mall exists. I don't know. But yeah, that was quite a while ago. So I sent a letter to Liberty Bell Racetrack saying I wanted to play trumpet at the races. I wanted a gig right away. I was probably like 4 or 5 years old. And got a letter back saying, call me when you're this many, and I think they sent me a pen. I wish I still had that pen.
Right.
But yeah, that was my first. Was my first no.
Yeah. Your first pitch and your first rejection.
Yeah, it was my very first rejection as a musician. I was like, all right, well, on to the next.
Yeah.
I think I had a plastic saxophone too, but I started taking violin lessons from my grandfather when I was about 5.
Okay, that's sort of where it starts. Maybe. Yeah. Started
with violin. I think he tried to teach my brother, who's the oldest. Then he tried to teach my sister, and they didn't want to. No. They didn't want any part of that. But I didn't love violin. I still don't. I still don't love the tone of a violin. Love viola. Love cello. But there's something about the tone of the violin.
That's so interesting.
I think it's because of going back to being a beginner violinist.
Yeah, right. It's not a pretty.
No, the sound of the the sound of the bow getting caught on that cork bridge. That's just something that just it always stuck with me. But I love writing for violin. I love violins in a section, but it's solo violin.
What about? Have you ever fancied playing the fiddle?
I love it as far as the musicality of it.
Yeah.
I love the riffs, and I'll rip them off as much as I can.
Yeah.
And play them on guitar.
What about that kind of that sort of family of instruments? You got the fiddle, you've got the banjo, you've got.
Oddly enough, even though my grandfather was a classical musician, he sometimes referred to it as a fiddle.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Why do you think that was?
That was comedy.
Yeah,
for
okay,
him.
Just funny.
He was a funny guy.
He didn't take himself too seriously.
No,
obviously.
not at all.
Yeah.
But I getting back to if you're heading in the bluegrass direction, I love banjo. I love mandolin.
Yeah.
I do love. I love bluegrass fiddle players and what they can do, and it's it's kind of mind boggling some of the stuff they play.
Right.
But violin kind of. I felt like it was holding me back, and I wanted to play guitar. And I was listening to Beatles and listening to Stones and listening to Hendrix and starting to hear all this guitar music, and I wanted to play that.
Yeah.
So my grandfather started teaching me guitar because he had one.
Right.
And there you go. He could play a little bit. I think I was probably around 7.
Yeah.
And there was no turning back.
Right. How old were you when you formed your first band?
I met my friend Joel in overnight camp. I think I was 9. Mm-hmm. And I had a guitar and an amp, and he had drums, and we became a duo.
How old were you?
I think I was 9.
Yeah.
I was 9. He was 10.
Yeah.
And our first band was called Psychedelic Mushroom.
What?
Yeah,
9.
Yeah. And we were into all the.
You were very advanced.
We were into all the psychedelic music. That's right. We would sit there and listen to Doors records and Hendrix records and all the psychedelic shit. We were into all of it, and we would just play as a duo, just guitar and drums, and that's it.
Right.
And I remember our first gig. It was at first it was just he would come to my house with drums, and then I would go to his house with a guitar and amp, and we would just jam, just two of us. I'd play the 3 or 4 chords that I knew, and that sounded good on an electric guitar.
Yeah.
And crank the amp up as loud as I could.
Where's you said Joel? What's his name? Where's Joel today? You guys
Joel's,
still buddies?
Yeah, he's in Philly. He's still playing and doing his thing, and he's a phenomenal drummer.
Nice. How often do you get back to Philly these days?
Not often enough.
Yeah. One of my hopes for the future is that sometime I might find myself in Philly at the same time you're in Philly.
Oh yeah. And hopefully Alex will be there at the same time, and we'll have a blast.
Dude, that would be off the charts. I've never had a proper time in Philly ever.
Oh yeah, you got to get the Philly treatment.
Yeah, right.
It's changed a lot since I've been there. I've been out here for almost 25 years. Yeah, about 25 years. So it's changed a lot. Like downtown Philly has changed a lot. Mm-hmm. Certain sections of Philly have changed. There was one point earlier in the year I was there, and Alex was home, and he said, "Oh, we got to go to Fishtown," which one time Fishtown was not a very nice part of the city. Mm-hmm. And now it's all trendy, and there's all these restaurants, all this hipster stuff going on, and
that seems to be the story in so many places these days. Yeah.
Yeah, you just got to know where it's happening and then buy some real estate there.
And so you clearly have family there. Who's there?
Yeah.
Who's
my mom, my sister, my brother, and there's family there.
Yeah.
And all of my friends from that I grew up with that I'm still tight with.
Yeah.
My friend Joey is we'll talk. If not talk, we'll text several times a week, and we're always in touch.
It's so great.
But I haven't been there in about 6 months. Both of my daughters live outside of Philly, so I need to get there more often.
Yeah.
But the last 6 months have been a lot of travel.
Yeah. Do they come out this way?
Every once in a while.
Yeah.
Not often enough.
Yeah. Right.
My mother, my sister, and her husband were just here a couple weeks ago.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, that was great.
Mm-hmm.
Nice to have family come and visit. That doesn't happen too often.
No.
Being the traveling family that we are, we're the ones that usually end up there.
Yeah.
As opposed to family coming out here. But why wouldn't people want to come here and visit? I mean,
so exactly. And, that was one of the advantages to becoming a dad. Suddenly I had an excuse to tell my parents, no, you know what? You
got to come here.
That's right. We want our kids to have Christmas at our house.
Right.
Yeah. So they come here now. But
yeah, that never stopped us. As soon as Truth was born, I think he was maybe less than 6 weeks old when he went to New York for the first time. Yeah. He's been traveling ever since. He needs a new passport at this point.
How is Truth doing?
He's doing great.
How old is he now?
He's 11.
Shit.
11 and
that's wild. 6th
grade, middle school, which let's not talk about middle school.
No. Yeah.
That's where things happen.
As we know from personal experience.
Yeah. Everything happens in middle school.
That's right. He's playing music too, right?
Yeah, he's not focused on it yet. Yeah. I think he's more focused on art and drama. He's got a drama class, which come on, when you were in 6th grade, did you have a drama class every day? Was that an option? Yeah. It's pretty amazing.
That was extracurricular. You could sign up for it and do it after class or after school or something. This is
part of the curriculum of Burbank middle schools.
Yeah.
There's somebody in his class is going to be a superstar.
Right. Might be him.
It might be him. I'm sure there's probably one every year that comes out that's a working actor.
Yeah.
Or several out of each school in Burbank.
How do you feel about, just dad to dad, parent to parent, because I got 2 kids, they're 2.5 and 7. What do you think about raising kids in LA and Hollywood? Because you grew up in Philly.
Yeah.
I grew up outside Chicago. You know what I mean? Like very different environments.
Very, very different.
Right.
I'm constantly reminding my son that this is an amazing place to grow up.
Yeah.
It really is. When you can walk outside and see mountains and the sun is shining every day.
Yep.
Come on.
Right.
That's amazing. You get the opportunity to be around, there's opportunity. That's what it is. And in Philly, not a whole lot of opportunity for the artistic kid.
Yeah.
You have to kind of forge your own thing and work harder at it. Here it's acceptable.
Right.
And it's, you want to be an actor? Okay, well, there's a drama class that you can take every day that's part of the actual curriculum in middle school.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's, it's weird because on one hand, I have worked so hard. My wife and I both, our whole lives. We got married at 35, but before we met, after we got married, we've worked so hard, right, to, realize our professional hopes and dreams, whatever, wanting to give our kids maybe better life than we had or whatever.
Right.
But yet at the same time, right, you and I are both, children of the 70s, whatever, grew up in the 70s and 80s. There was perhaps a work ethic that maybe we saw, maybe there was a bit of a humbler.
Focus was different then because now there's so many distractions.
Yeah.
Kids have so many distractions.
Yeah.
If it's not just YouTube, which is the biggest distraction.
Right.
There's video games. There's VR games.
Yeah.
There's so much for a kid to be distracted with.
Right.
I don't know. It's just different times bring, different
challenges,
different humans, it's part of evolution.
All I know is that when I wanted to see boobs in the 80s, 70s and 80s, that was much more challenging than it is today.
Yeah, that's yeah. You had to be on a mission.
Yeah, somebody had to know where their dad's stash of Playboy magazines were.
Right, or have an older brother that could go and buy something. Or sneak you in somewhere. Or
Well, no, it's just interesting because I mean, some parents want their kids to, maybe embrace their field, whatever it is, whether it's the arts or medicine or whatever.
Right.
Some parents, want their kids to, become whoever it is they're meant to become, and yet at the same time, kids are kind of born who they are,
Yeah. What my wife and I like to do is just give our son the tools to do, whatever he wants to do. Mm-hmm. If he wants to play guitar, there's one next to his bed.
Right.
If he wants to play piano, there's a keyboard at the foot of his bed. There's a piano in the living room.
Yeah.
If he wants to play more guitars, there's another 60, 70 guitars in the living room.
Yeah.
There's, if he wants to record, there's a studio in the house. Mm-hmm. If he wants to, whatever he wants to do, the tools are there.
Yeah.
The acting thing is something that, it kind of makes sense for his personality. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think it's good to be able to learn how to, I don't know, I guess in a way it's kind of like manipulation class, going to an acting class.
Well, I think those are great skills. I mean, to be comfortable in front of a crowd and on stage,
that's a big one.
Under the lights, public speaking is supposed to be people's number one fear. To get over that, early on in life, that's a great thing,
Yeah, actually, last year in 5th grade, we were pretty shocked. He wanted to sing, mm-hmm. and he had never really taken any vocal lessons. We had never really heard him sing. Like, I heard him sing a little bit, but knew his pitch was pretty good and he's got good tone. But he wanted to sing Bohemian Rhapsody for his school talent show.
Mm. And he's coming out swinging, man.
Yeah, that's like, holy fuck! You can't just hum that one.
No,
I mean that's as he says, one of the greatest songs ever written.
Yeah,
it is. It's up there. You know, it's one of the greatest songs ever written. It's a masterpiece. And fortunately, I have the masters of that song. I have the master for that song in Pro Tools. Mm-hmm. So I had all the separated tracks. So I took him into the studio and said, let's edit this. He could only do a couple minutes. He couldn't do the full, 7-minute version. So we had to do an edited version, but he knew exactly what he wanted. He had the arrangement down. He wanted to do the first 2 verses and go straight to the end. Skip the whole middle part. He wanted to sing, some of the best emotional parts of the song and kind of skip the rocking part.
Right.
Although he loves it, he knew he didn't have the time for that.
Right.
And plus it's, it's a lot of voices.
Yeah.
So we sat down, we edited it. I took Freddie's voice out and he went up on stage and killed it with some Queen.
How proud were you?
With actual Queen tracks behind him.
Oh, shit.
And I was blown away because his pitch was so great. And we actually had him. He didn't work that hard at it. That's the thing. It's like he works a little bit at something and he nails it.
Yeah.
We had him work with Vanessa Bryan. I don't know if you're familiar with Vanessa. She's an amazing vocalist, but also an amazing vocal coach. And he did a couple sessions with her and he was confident.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Pretty cool to watch. But that is something like getting up in front of a crowd and singing a song when you're 10 years old. That crowd could be harsh. Those kids in school the next day.
Oh my God, brutal.
I mean, if you fuck up, it's over.
By the way, they're all videoing it and they're going to post it on Facebook or whatever, or Snapchat.
Yeah, no kids on Facebook.
Yeah, right. I'm old.
Yeah, that's for old people, man. It's all about TikTok now.
Yeah. Oh, TikTok, right. Yeah, TikTok's the cool new shit. Yeah. That's right.
Of course, that'll be over next year and something else will come along. But that's what's hot now.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it would have been brutal, had he, whatever, was, struggled or whatever, they would have been brutal.
Right, but he nailed it.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of him because he stepped up and did it. And it's like that way with anything with him. He'll just work a little hard at something for a couple of days and he'll get it.
Yeah.
I spent years and years and years and I'm still working on shit and I can't get it.
That's all relative, my friend.
Trying to be a guitar player.
You're doing okay.
You're
doing all right. You might get there.
I learn the parts, or I make up new parts as it goes along, and I try and keep it gig.
So you said earlier before the show, you talked about you've got a new tech now that you're working with. That must be a little bit nerve-wracking.
I feel completely relaxed about it.
Okay.
It could be hit or miss. You never know what you're going to get into, but
I mean, what is that process like? Are you interviewing techs? Like, how do you get a new tech? Like,
what I do is I call the best in the business, and I know he's not available, but I always ask him first.
Yeah. Right.
I call.
And who's that?
That's Takumi. Takumi
Shout
is he's just a master.
Yeah.
He really is. He's a master guitar tech. He really knows tone. He's kind of like, he's radar. He thinks way ahead.
Mm-hmm.
He builds amazing rigs. He really cares for instruments and cares for the player and makes it really comfortable. And I got the chance to work with him when I was at Paisley Park, working with Prince and working on projects there. And I've done some touring with him, and he's awesome.
Yeah.
And since he left Prince, he was with AC/DC, he was with Nickelback, he was with Bon Jovi, he was with Zach Brown, he was with it's like one after another, and he takes care of Richie Sambora. He's a guitar tech's guitar tech.
Right.
He really is. He's like the guy that everybody looks up to. He's the Yoda of guitar techs.
Sure.
So when I needed a tech, this is about 7 or 8 years ago, I was doing a TV show. I was in a house band on a show called The Winner Is, which is kind of a failed NBC music competition show. Mm-hmm. Could have succeeded. It was a cool show.
What was the fatal flaw? Why didn't people watch?
Probably time slot and just when it aired. It was just it was just bad programming.
Right.
It was a good show. It was an entertaining show. It wasn't people.
Nothing. I mean, these you could have the best show in the world. It has a bad time slot.
Right.
Forget about it. Yeah.
But it was a good show. It was like kind of average everyday people singing for cash.
Yeah.
It wasn't somebody trying to be a star or get a record deal. They were singing for money.
Right.
It was a game show.
That's great. Yeah.
And it was cool. We had a great band, like killer house band.
Yeah.
So we're going into rehearsals, and I'm like, oh, I really need a tech for this. And my tech was on the road. Pops, who had been with me for like 10 years prior, he was on the road when this gig came up, and I called Takumi and I was like, you want to do this TV show? I know you're probably with AC/DC or something, but he said, no, call Trevor Cole.
Shout out Trevor.
And Trevor was my guy. He was there and took care of everything and made everything great and took care of all of my needs and then some for 7-8 years. Mm-hmm. And now he's out on the road with another good friend of mine, Tarek Akoni, who's Josh Groban's musical director and guitarist. Mm-hmm. And Tarek is brilliant. And Trevor's out with him, working with him. So I step back into the world of Christina, and I need someone to take up the slack and handle my gear. So we've got a guy named Matt McKenna coming in, the recommendation from Takumi.
Right. So you called him. You're like, okay.
I called Takumi and said, okay, the last one worked out pretty well.
Right.
So, and which, Trevor is awesome. I wish he could be out with us.
I had the opportunity to meet Trevor a long time ago, as you know, and what a great guy, what a character.
Yeah. Awesome storyteller too.
Oh,
comes from a line of storytellers.
Yes, we got to get him on the podcast at some point.
Oh man, yeah, got to do it. So Matt will be coming in for this Vegas run, and then we're going back to Europe, and then back to Vegas again, and some stuff in between. But I've actually got my live rig set up in my living room right now.
Oh wow.
Just programming, setting, making sure everything works, kind of get everything prepared for the Vegas run. And it's a lot of cables. It's a lot of, I was plugging stuff in yesterday thinking, how do can I do this myself? I don't know. You get spoiled when you have a tech.
Right. You just have to show up.
Yeah. But, I love gear. Yeah, right. I love gear, and I love, the progression of it. I always go back to, okay, if a guitar sounds great through an amp, cool. What can we put on top of it now to enhance that?
Yeah.
You know, you get tone first and then work it. Then you have a palette to work with.
Right. Solid foundation.
Yeah.
Then build the house.
Yeah. Yeah. And several years ago, we were getting ready for a tour, and Trevor built the most monstrous pedal board for me. And, you know, if there's, you know, any guitar players listening, you know what pedals mean. Pedals mean.
By the way, not to digress, but on the subject, didn't I see something in the headlines the other day? Somebody set a new world record for the largest guitar pedal.
Yeah. I didn't really. I think I was in Moscow. I was traveling, and I didn't really get a chance to get too deep into that.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was like looked like hundreds of pedals.
It was like, what the
He's
fuck?
going to need a bigger noise gate. That's it's kind of ridiculous. But yeah, Trevor had built me a beautiful, monstrous piece of art, you know, and it was an amazing palette. It had all the analog stuff on it that I liked, you know, amazing like overdrive pedals, and then I got all the, you know, all the digital, you know, between delay, reverb, and modulation pedals, and everything's MIDI'd, and I'm going through a switcher, and all I have to do is step on a button, and, you know, I can program everything I want. It was amazing. And then another product came along that kind of knocked that out of the box. And I still love my big pedal board. It's amazing, and I can't wait to get back, you know, get it in the studio once my studio is built, get that in the studio and up and working, so I have every possible color and sound I could want. But Line 6 came up with another alternative, and which I think is their first amazingly professional piece of gear that they've ever made, and it's super versatile, and that's kind of what I'm basing my rig on now. So I've kind of scaled down instead of using a giant pedal board, which, you know, when you have a giant pedal board, you got a lot of cables and you got a lot of things that can go wrong.
Right.
You know, when you have a unit that kind of handles everything, that kind of...
Well, what kind of domino effect does that, like, so if you've got a big pedal board and something goes wrong on, I'm just making shit up here, pedal 12, is there a domino effect in that it impacts other pedals, or is it just sort of an isolated thing?
The thing is, you might not know what,
right,
which cable or which pedal, or
sure.
The troubleshooting you have to do when you have, you know, say if you have 15 to 20 pedals on a board, that's a lot. I mean, it's a lot of stuff you got to go through. You know, first thing is, okay, do we have signal going through, you know, like guitar to amp? Okay, yeah, that works. Guitar to volume pedal, yeah, that works. Guitar to wah pedal, yeah, that works. Now you go through the switcher and all the, you know, the pedals in between, and it's a lot of troubleshooting.
What's the most fucked up thing that's ever happened to you on stage in a live performance in terms of, you know,
like
gear malfunction?
Shit going down?
Yeah.
Nothing terrible, really. There was an incident on this last European run that we did with Christina. Very first show in Paris. And it was first show of the tour after a couple days of production rehearsals in Paris in the arena. Go to play during the intro, and it's like, you know, it's showtime. It's, you know, there's the countdown, the intro starts, Pro Tools is rolling, I got click in my in-ears, and I got no guitar.
What the?
Yeah, it was a dead battery.
Ugh.
Which I knew it right away. I looked down, I was like, okay, I got no signal on my main electric guitar.
I'm so grateful you today you happen to bring your axe with you. You got a little acoustic Yamaha with you.
Yep.
Wow. So how old is that piece of gear?
This, I don't know. I've probably had this guitar for about 10 or 12 years. And it's just one of the really beautiful handcrafted Japanese acoustics. It's
why don't you play us a little something?
Oh man, I don't know what to play.
I know how you hate to be put on the spot. But.
Oh man, I never know what to play because I can never remember songs.
Yeah.
But I can noodle well. I'm a total noodler.
Yeah.
So there's, you know, I could be sitting watching TV with a guitar as long as nobody else is there. I'll noodle when I'm by myself watching TV or watching a movie. But I can't do it with other people in the room because that just pisses people off.
All right. People are assholes. I mean, they don't understand greatness when they.
Yeah. Or I could, you know, sit there tweaking a patch on my rig or sit in the studio trying to work out a sound and end up noodling for an hour and before I know it.
But what is a creative process like? I mean, are you banking ideas? I mean, we can't manage inspiration. I mean, you get ideas all the time. We're not wired to remember ideas, So how do you record your ideas? What is your creative process like when it comes down to you writing original music?
If I get an idea and I'm not in my studio or in another studio, it's voice memos on the phone.
Of course.
Right. It's so easy to just press record and play or hum an idea.
Yeah.
That's where most of my ideas start is with that. But there's plenty of days, not enough recently because I've been on the road too much, but where I'll say, okay, 9:00, I'm going to get in the studio and start writing. Mm-hmm. And that's a good day.
Yeah. 9 a.m.
9 a.m. Get in the studio, start writing. And,
right.
And I know I'm going to come up with something. I might come up with 2 ideas or 3 ideas. Mm-hmm. I might not complete something, but I've started something. And, maybe I can take it as far as I can and I bring somebody else in to collaborate on it. Mm-hmm. Or I'll send it to Saida Garrett and have her write some lyrics and do something amazing with it. I can create a foundation so easily and then, have others finish it.
Musicians are sort of stereotypically night owls for obvious reasons. Are you a night owl? Do you find when you're at home, do you find yourself in the studio late at night?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Less distractions.
Yeah.
Everybody's asleep. It's just, I feel like it's just me and the moon and the stars.
Can you write? When is your head most clear to write? Is it in the morning or at night?
Definitely at night.
Yeah.
At night, in the morning, there's a lot of, there's distractions throughout the day.
Sure.
Starting in the morning.
Yeah.
There's distractions. I always thought it'd be cool to have a studio somewhere else and, actually go off to work every day, go to a studio every day. But I prefer to have a studio at home. So that way I can, if I want to make myself lunch, I can go in my kitchen and cook. If I want to go for a swim, I just step out of the studio and go for a swim.
Yeah.
Just more comfortable for me to do that and not have to drive anywhere and all my gear is there.
Right. At your old place, you had your studio kind of down in the basement.
It was a Burbank basement.
Yeah.
It was hard to find. Yeah.
Right. In your new place, are you in the garage? Like where's the studio set up at?
Right now, I'm working out of one single room that's built on the back of the garage and it's a little too small, and we haven't been there. We've been there long enough to build something, but I haven't been home long enough to focus on it and get the plans done. We have a contractor ready, so when it's time to pull the trigger, hopefully a month later I'll have a studio built. Yeah. But all I need is 2 rooms. I need a live room and a great sound and control room, and enough space for 100 or 150 instruments, and I'm good.
Over the years,
it's not too much to ask, is it?
No, hell no. I say, go big. Over the years, of our friendship, I've heard you talk about young talent that you're mentoring, that you're nurturing, that you're producing, working with, developing. Anybody right now that you're excited about that?
Yeah. I feel like this project is just about ready for human consumption. Mm-hmm. It's the artist name is Munny, Munny. Mm-hmm. I've been working with her for about 1.5 years. Yeah, and now we've got a dozen songs that are pretty much complete, that are really good, and probably another 30 ideas of hers that I'm ready to start working on.
Right on.
But we've got an album's worth, whatever an album is worth these days, or we've got a bunch of singles ready to go. She just shot a video for the first single, which she's still editing now. And
that's cool.
She's awesome. She's really unique, which is what I like in an artist. She doesn't sound like anybody else. Right. She doesn't write like somebody else.
Who are her inspirations?
Oh, man, I don't even know.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty vast.
Yeah.
Her inspirations are pretty wide because of the influences that she had growing up.
Sure.
Stuff that her dad listened to, she would tell me was mostly classic rock. Mm-hmm. But yeah, lots of different influences. When I first heard her, she was in a band It was just her and two guys, and it was all EDM. It was very electronic and really not my thing. I love electronic stuff, and I love to put different electronic elements in with live instrumentation. But this was all EDM, and it was cool. It was really cool, and it was her voice that really stood out to me.
Yeah.
And her style and her writing, her lyrics. She's generally pretty dark lyrically, which I think is cool. It's very emotional music. It's cool, and it gave me the chance to paint a lot of different colors and work with a lot of different. Just be creative with different instrumentation and different arrangements, and not be typical with anything.
Please tell me that her music is going to make me feel something. So much of music today just doesn't make me. It will make me feel like shit.
Yeah, it would definitely make you feel something. It might make you feel like shit, but if that song is supposed to make you feel like shit, it will. Hopefully it won't.
Right.
It's kind of like.
Well, it just feels like so much of music today is emotionally vacuous. You know what I mean? It's just like nothing happening.
Her music is very emotional, and I tried to produce it in a way that dealt with her emotion.
Yeah.
But also because of her personality, she's not a dark and depressed person, just personality wise. She's actually fun. She's an upbeat person.
Yeah. She's a complex artist, right?
She's a very complex artist.
Yeah.
She's, she writes about the relationships she goes through, which she's been through a lot of them.
Right.
And I think that's a part of it. And that's her muse, is her, her failed relationships and her, the happiness that she craves in a relationship. And that's what she writes about. And what I thought was, there's some of these songs where, okay, the lyrics are so dark, but why not twist it and make the song a little more upbeat?
Yeah.
And make the song sound a little more happy, and not just go straight minor on it. And
well, the juxtaposition of those two must be really cool.
Yeah. So some of the songs turned out like, wow, it's kind of a happy bopping song, but those lyrics are dark.
Right. Right.
But it still gives you an emotional lift one way or another.
How old is she?
She's 20, mid-20s,
okay.
26.
So she's got some miles under her heels.
Yeah,
she's lived a bit.
She's gone through it a little bit. She's had some hard times, and she graduated from college, and she's living in L.A., and it's not an easy place to live.
So Money, M-U-N-N-Y.
M-U-N-N-Y.
M-U-N-N-Y. Where does that name come from?
She went through a few different names, different ideas for names. She didn't want to use her name. She didn't think it was, her name is Shannon. It's a beautiful name. Mm-hmm. There was an artist in the 80s named Shannon. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember that artist.
Yes.
Let the music play. Mm-hmm. I love that artist. But, she wanted to develop a character.
Yeah.
And she does. She likes to...
Does she know that there's a very popular designer vinyl art toy called Money, M-U-N-N-Y? We're
going to have to cross that bridge when we come to it. Yeah, maybe there could be a fusion.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I bring it up, because what it is artists, it's a given shape of this character, and it's produced by Kid Robot, and but usually they're blanks, right? They're just white. The shape is famous, cool. But then artists paint, and so there are many different versions of Money.
Oh, that's cool,
right? So she could get hers, and maybe even paint hers, and maybe
she could be another version of Money.
That's right.
Right.
Anyway,
no, that's great. And I always thought it was more like honey, like the way like the way Winnie the Pooh spelled honey, which I think was Hunny.
Well, that's then that reminds me. That reminds me. No money, no honey.
Right. Hun backwards ny. Right. Which maybe she should spell it that way.
Yeah.
MUN backwards ny.
The possibilities.
Yeah. The possibilities are endless.
And you guys linked. How'd you link up? How'd you find her?
Through a friend of mine. It was really very random.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, Eric Blackman, who's a photographer, amazing photographer, and just great all around human. Hadn't talked to him in a while, and he'd said, "Hey, I met this girl, and she played me some of her stuff, and she's a model, and she does this and she does that, but she's got this music, and I think you should work together."
Wow, so she's a triple threat. She's a great musical artist, obviously a smart person, and she's beautiful.
Yeah.
Right.
She graduated from, she went to Emerson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No
She
dummy.
graduated from Emerson with a film degree.
Yeah.
So she's very creative.
And she just shot a video, so she's producing and kind of directing her own videos, probably.
Yeah, she
Right
did
on.
have a director, but she knows how to delegate.
Yeah.
But I've seen other things that she's directed, and she's awesome. She's got an amazing eye. She comes up with amazing concepts and can shoot stuff for little to no budget.
Yeah.
You know, and make things work. You know, she could make a video out of nothing, and it looks like like $100,000 video.
Right.
Which, $100,000 gets you a pretty good music video these days.
Yeah. Right.
Because of the the editing capabilities you can do on your own. But she can do it. She can handle it.
Well, this is super
She's
exciting.
super creative.
When do you think the album might drop? Is that a spring 2020 thing?
I don't know if it's going to be an album situation or if it's going to be single by single.
Yeah. Right.
We have a lot to give at this point.
Yeah.
Singles are being mixed, which I have to push the envelope on that a little more and get stuff mixed a little bit faster because we're relying on some favors right now because there's no budget on the project, so we're trying to make things happen.
But I mean, that's just so the life of the artist, right?
Yeah.
I mean, trading favors, making ends meet, lean and mean, no money, trying to create with no budget.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
the only downside of doing a project like that is it takes longer.
Yeah. It's stressful.
It takes longer
it's that much more
because,
stressful.
well, to me, it's not stressful because we're doing it the way we want to do it.
Right. It's a fair trade-off that way. Sure. I
If
get that.
there was a label behind it,
Yeah.
and there was, even if there was, a couple $100,000 involved,
Right.
or
I
even
totally
less,
get that. That's right.
it would have happened a lot faster, but it wouldn't have been done the way we wanted.
And that's stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that to me is more stressful. But, there's plenty of other projects I have to work on because there's money.
Yeah.
And that, not her money,
Right.
but dollars. So I have to do those projects because that's part of the job. I have to go on the road and do shows because that's part of my job. Yes, I wish I could just stay in the studio and work on her project until 30 songs are complete, and then I'll work on something else.
Now, will you release that on your label, her label? Like, how does that work?
We're kind of leaving it open.
Yeah.
I'd rather not be a label.
Yeah.
Myself, but I think she'd be better off on an indie label.
Right.
Who's got some legs.
Yeah.
An indie label with some other artists that would work well with her as far as a touring situation. Because I think she's going to need that. She's going to need to start doing shows, and we're putting a show together now it's going to end up being more of a showcase for for labels and for music supervisors and for TV producers and film producers and because a lot of her stuff is a lot of the music is great for film and TV. It's great for licensing. It's emotional music, and it's great. It's going to be a great addition to whatever scene that it lends itself to.
Does the name Hamish Anderson mean anything to you?
Sounds familiar.
Guitarist, Australian guy, blues guy. Anyway, I bring him up because he's managed by a friend of mine, Kristen Jewell, who's been on this podcast as well. And she manages a few artists, sort of young, emerging, but talented musical artists. If, I don't know to what extent you're helping to, manage money or
absolutely
whatever. But like, if, you may want to, at some point, maybe you want to talk to Kristen because she's doing a lot of stuff in terms of marketing and promotion.
Oh, great. Yeah. Connect us.
Yeah,
that could
totally.
Be, that could be great.
Yeah. I've known Kristen a long time, and she's full of energy, really smart, and
great.
loves music, loves artists.
Yeah, please connect us. That'd be great.
Yeah.
And you mentioned blues. I was going to say that these songs kind of they are her version of blues.
Oh, right.
Because
Nice.
she's singing these songs to feel better.
Yeah.
And hopefully it'll do the same for the listener.
Right.
It'll take them through an emotional thing where, okay, she went through that too.
Yeah.
I feel better.
Right.
I feel better because I didn't go through it alone.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's like another form of blues. That's where blues came from.
Mm-hmm.
Blues came from, pain.
For sure. Where's she from? Where'd she grow up?
I think she was born in Pennsylvania somewhere, either Western Pennsylvania, and grew up in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
So she's got family in Rhode Island. Not are there any superstars from Rhode Island? That's something we'll have to Google. I know a couple people from I know some musicians from Rhode Island.
All right.
Marty O'Brien. I don't know if you know Marty, awesome bass player who lives out in LA here. He's from Rhode Island. He plays with he's played with a lot of big metal acts and rock acts. And he's been with Lita Ford for years.
Lita.
Yeah. So if you ever see Lita Ford, her bass player is from Rhode Island.
Interesting. Yeah. Anytime I hear Rhode Island, which by the way is one of 3 states that I've not been to. I've got 3 states to go before I've been to all 50. Rhode Island, Delaware, and South Dakota. And
well, do South Dakota and Rhode Island first because Delaware is a big one.
I wondered where you were going with that.
Yeah, you're not missing much.
Yeah, well, no, but I digress. I mean, anytime I think of Rhode Island, or I mention Rhode Island, or hear Rhode Island, I think of Rhode Island School of Design. Rhode Island Institute School of Design, because so many great artists, visual artists primarily, have came through there. Shepard Fairey famously went to RISD.
Wow.
But I'm guessing there must be some of these artists, visual artists, that were also musicians that might have found some acclaim on some level. But I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Rhode Island's definitely got some art.
And this, I could just be totally talking on my ass right now, but as I often do, but I want to say David Byrne.
Such an ass talker.
I'm very loquacious. Or is that, yeah.
David Byrne?
David Byrne might have gone to RISD.
Wow.
Let me ask the interweb here. Siri, where did David Byrne go to college? Rhode Island School of Design.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, I thought that was the case.
So it's a school that recognizes brilliance.
Yeah. It's a hard one to get into.
Wow.
And so there you go. We have Talking Heads fame out of Rhode Island.
Yeah. And David Byrne's still out there doing it.
Yep.
In fact, my friend Angie Swan has been playing guitar with him for
that's cool.
For several years, and she's awesome.
Yeah.
She found a great home with David Byrne.
Dude, not to jump around here, but what the fuck is happening? So years ago, I came to see you play over here in NoHo at that venue. I'm forgetting
the Federal Bar.
Federal.
Yeah.
It was such a hot jam that night, man. You and a couple of your boys.
Yeah, we had a cool thing.
Oh my God, that was so sweet. Is that sort of like, like hibernating right now? Like,
yeah. I mean, I think eventually it'll come back around.
Okay.
We had formed a band just based on improv.
Yeah.
We were just
so hot.
We wanted to play. It was some friends that wanted to play. It was me and Chris Johnson, who's an awesome drummer.
Yeah.
And Courtney Leonard. Mm-hmm. Killer bass player, and different players would come through every week. We just had fun. We wanted to play every Sunday, so we did. And it was a cool venue.
Well, you guys posted a video right to YouTube or something, as I recall.
Yeah, we ended up calling the band Invented Like Stars.
Right.
And over time we had written a handful of songs and actually got into a rehearsal room and rehearsed them and finished writing them, and we recorded them live at the Federal.
Yeah.
It was all recorded by a guy named Brian Vibert, who's an amazing engineer. Mm-hmm. Antelope Audio was part of it, and they set up probably a dozen cameras and shot the whole thing, recorded everything, and mixed it, and it was cool.
Yeah.
So that stuff is out there on YouTube.
When I post this episode on the website, with your permission, I may include that video.
Oh yeah.
Or those videos, because they were just so great.
That was fun. It was fun times.
Yeah.
We made cool music. Mm-hmm. We did a couple gigs after that. We did some stuff at the NAMM show for Yamaha, which was cool, because Chris Johnson and I were both Yamaha artists. Mm-hmm. And Tim Carmen, who who played keys in the band, plays with Eric Clapton. He's played with everybody over the years.
Yeah. Well, the groove factor reminded me of a band in Chicago that I used to listen to every Sunday night. They played at the Double Door, which I lived down the street from, and the band was called Liquid Soul. And you may remember them. They famously played at I want to say Bill Clinton's inaugural party or something after he was elected. But I don't think they're around anymore. But they had several albums. But you would totally dig them. I mean, they were absolutely super groovy. And but they also had a MC, with them. So they would lay down the groove, and then old boy would come in with the rap, and it just was like super, super hot.
That's cool.
Yeah,
it was all groove oriented. Yeah. That's cool. There's some amazing players from Chicago.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I've worked with several over the years. Rob Lewis, who's musical director I've been working with for years. Rob's from Chicago.
Yeah.
Ethan Farmer, bass player. I don't know if you're familiar with Ethan, but he was also with Christina for quite a while. He's with Lionel Richie now. He's played with everybody.
Right. Wow.
If you see a bass player jumping around on stage with a mohawk with Lionel Richie, that's Ethan Farmer.
That's your boy?
Yeah.
From Chicago.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have I turned 50 next year. Right. So, I've been thinking about like how I want to celebrate. Right. And, the reality is I have so many dear friends in Chicago who are great musicians, primarily in the jazz and blues scene. But, some of them are just kind of like working piano players too. For example, my buddy Dave Roberts, him and his brother famously wrote that song, The Curly Shuffle. Remember that song?
Yeah, I remember The Curly Shuffle.
So that's my buddy.
That's
right?
Great.
And so anyway, but I've often fantasized about getting my Chicago musician friends together with my LA musician friends.
Cool.
And so
let's all play The Curly Shuffle.
That's right. Well, there you go.
And if you can roll some Three Stooges behind us, that's even better.
So this is where I'm going with this. It's like I'm thinking maybe for my 50th, I do a big party, but bring in my we get a band, we get a stage, we get all the gear, and we just have a jam session and mix up Chicago, LA in honor of my day of birth.
That's great.
And just let my friends fucking do what they do.
And I'll bring in my LA-based friends that are from Chicago.
There we go.
And Rob, who happens to live in New York, but from Chicago.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a fun thought. I would love that.
You pick the venue, we'll be there.
Well, it turns out. So our boy. Well, thank you, and I will keep you posted on that. So our boy Ricky.
Yeah.
Right. So he and Des were on the podcast a few months ago. I don't know if you caught that or not, but I've
not heard it yet.
It's a great episode.
I got to listen.
And so it was
two of my favorite people.
Oh, they're just fantastic, right? And thank you for bringing them into my life.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I wouldn't know them without you.
That's right. I brought them over for the
Haiti fundraiser.
Right, the Haiti fundraiser, which they very passionate about.
Yep.
I figured it was a good mix.
No, and you figured right. So, but on that day when they were here, and Desi sang some bars, and it was just great. And but it was he was getting ready. Ricky was getting ready to go out with Madonna.
Right, he's out with Madonna right now.
And part of the news that they were dropping that day was that they're going to be doing some dates around while he's on tour. Desi's going to join him in certain locations.
Yeah.
Well, turns out Chicago is one of those dates, right? And so he's
because she'll be in Chicago for a little while, right?
Yeah. And
Madonna will be. Yeah.
Right. And I said to Ricky, I said, well, what's the date? And I think he said October 25th. I said, well, what venue are you playing? And he said, well, we're playing Untitled. I said, oh, yeah, my buddy owns that bar.
It's good to have friends.
Yeah. Well, and to clarify, he's one of many owners of this bar.
Right.
But yeah, so it turns out one of my best, dearest friends, Yogesh, shout out Yogesh, is one of these owners. So now I'm Channing and I are trying to work it out where we're in Chicago at Untitled during that show because I can get all my friends to roll out, you know.
Get a nice big crowd for Parlor Social.
Totally. So I'm trying to work that out, but that was just such a small world at the end of the day.
I think I may be doing a gig with Desi without Ricky.
Okay.
I'm waiting on details, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be doing an LA gig where I'll kind of be playing Ricky's parts.
Nice. Okay.
Which will be a challenge for me. Hey, I welcome it.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I might just play everything on a resonator guitar and have fun with it.
Right. Wait. So that's obviously TBD. So it would be maybe in the fall or something.
It is. It is in the fall.
Yeah.
I think it's in October.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's October.
Right.
So I'll keep you posted on that.
Yeah, keep me posted, because I'd like, one of the things that we're trying to do more of, this is news for you, maybe, is I'm about to invest. Well, it doesn't matter whether or not I buy the gear or not, but it looks like I'm going to be buying like some really good video equipment. And but the bottom line is Hans and I are starting to work more closely together, and I want to start filming shit. That's great. So, for example, this is a small example, but one of our dear friends, Deb Spera, shout out Deb, wrote her first novel, and it is getting critical acclaim. Like, she fucking nailed it. Like, it's awesome. An incredible book. And so she had done a Q&A, reading in a Q&A at Skylight Books in Silver Lake, right? And I think that's Silver Lake. Channing was moderated the talk, right? And so, but because Deb has worked in the business and Channing works with their old friends, whatever, of course, it was a packed house and it was great. But I'd said to Deb, I said, how would you feel about us filming this? You know, you could use it in your PR and your social and whatever. She's like, oh my God, that it just blew her away. She was so touched. I was like, she's like, you would do that for me? I'm like, hell yeah, I would do that for you. So we had, you know, spent a little bit of money, and it was a simple deal because it was just one camera and it was just them in the bookstore, whatever. But it came out great. The audio's great. You know, it looks great, you know, and that's great. But the point I'm getting at is I have so many, you know, amazing artist friends who are doing so much cool shit that often gets lost. Like it disappears, right? If you don't record it, if you don't film it, it's gone. Yeah. And, you know, I want Not Real Art to be, you know, documenting this stuff, filming this, sharing this stuff. And so I bring this up because of your gig with Des. Like, obviously it's a more sophisticated thing. We'd probably want a couple cameras or whatever, but like Hans and I could get on that. Yeah.
No, same thing with this show I'm putting together with Money too. Yes, because we've already talked about, you know, we need to have probably 3 or 4 cameras on that. Yep. To capture it for sure, and because it's going to be a dynamic performance, right? There's going to be some video stuff. There's going to be props. There's going to be you know, it's going to be a show. Yeah, a proper show. Yeah, fuck yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's the thing. Like this idea that, you know, Not Real Art becomes, well, this is what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to help artists tell their stories. That's basically it. And everybody watches videos constantly. Every day. It's, you know, whether it's a 2-second video or you know, or a 30-minute video or something that's, you know, just something that catches somebody's eye, they're gonna keep watching it. Yep. You know, and they're gonna want to see more. Yeah. If they like it, they want more. Yeah. And artists, as much as they want to record that performance or film that performance, often don't have the time or the bandwidth or the money to make it happen. Exactly. And if Not Real Art and Crew West can come in and be that partner for them. Right. That's a great idea. It's, you know, it's providing real value. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So anyway, that would be great. And it's also helping propel the art in a different medium. Totally. Totally. Well, and, you know, I mean, this sort of stems from, you know, years ago, I was at the Baked Potato, right? Which fucking love the fucking baked potato, right? And I was there one night, and they have great potatoes.
They do have great potatoes. Don't let that fun fact be lost. Yeah, like the music is awesome, but the potatoes. Oh man, I really go for the potatoes. The jazz potato. And but I was there one night, and you know how it is. I mean, they're just fucking off the fucking walls in there, and it's amazing. No chumps on that stage. No. And it's 1:30 in the morning. I'm a couple drinks in or whatever. And I'm just sitting there going, this is lost to history, right? Like, we're here. This ephemeral nature of this moment is incredible. We have, 50 people, 70 people pack in there. I don't even know. It's very small.
Yeah.
And those of us who are here are blessed, are lucky, to be here.
Yeah.
But, the fact that this is lost to history, lost to the world, that no one else is enjoying this or can enjoy this, to me just felt
there's kind of a beauty about that.
It is. I know. There's a beauty. But I just, when I think about, and you're not going to capture all of it, but when I think about young artists or other artists or people that I admire, whatever, like if we can provide some service, some help to help them, as I say, tell their stories if they want, right?
Well, it's also documenting things like that. I mean, just imagine if there were not cameras at that Monterey Pop show.
Right.
The first time Hendrix did a big show in the U.S.
Yeah, right.
It was his first big U.S. concert. Imagine if there weren't cameras there to document that. He set his fucking guitar on fire. Come on. I mean, there were cameras there.
Yeah.
So we can see that shit. We can watch that and say, holy shit, he actually exploded.
Yeah.
That's what made him explode in the U.S. Thanks to Paul McCartney, seeing him in a club in London, saying, "Yeah, we need to put him on that Monterey show. Right? You should get that guy."
Yeah, and if those cameras weren't there,
right? And I'm so glad they were. Whatever footage there is of Hendrix. I mean, I think I've seen all of it at this point.
Yeah,
and studied all of it because he was so groundbreaking. You never know when that shit's going to pop up.
Right.
I mean, there's so many artists now that, it's a saturated world with music and there's incredible talent everywhere. And you could look on Instagram right now and find 50 incredible artists that nobody's ever heard of. Maybe, 100,000 of their followers have heard of them. Right. But or maybe there's some with more than that. Maybe there's some with millions of followers. Right. But they're still not household names. They're still not superstars. They're still sitting in their bedrooms making music.
Well, okay. So let's drill down on this a minute, right? Because Billie Eilish, right? So Billie Eilish, I discovered her, what is she, 15? Okay.
She's, I think she's 17 now.
Okay. Yeah. So when I discovered her, she was 15. Right, now I say discovered her, I didn't discover her. She had a show on Apple Music, right? And I was like, what the fuck's up with this? So I started checking. And I don't know that I knew that she was 15 at the time. All I knew is that there was this like really charming, smart, articulate, goofy gal on the end of the mic that definitely knew what she thought about music or art or whatever. Like she had a very a specific point of view and could articulate.
She's a true artist.
A true artist. And so, but her show, she was playing tracks and music and artists that she loved. But 9 times out of 10, this music, this artist, this track that she loved, she found deep diving on fucking SoundCloud. Right. And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, like, I'm so grateful that she's turning me on to great new music, because here's the deal. Like, I don't have time to go deep diving on SoundCloud. You know what I mean? But so many of these great young artists are out there and they're in, Smallsville, Ohio, but they're uploading to SoundCloud.
Right.
And people
because that's the extent of their reach.
Yeah. But it is the world. If somebody like Billie Eilish finds them or someone else finds them, they, and so anyway, so I just was, I was just, A, grateful, but B, like knowing that, because it cuts both ways. I mean, on one hand, these social platforms and these digital tools being democratized has been, toxic to, the industry in so many ways, but it's been so empowering to so many artists who never had a chance otherwise.
Right. That's true.
And yet this idea that there is so much talent out there that we'll never know about,
Yeah. I go back and forth with how I feel about technology and the way things have gone, and with the onset of MP3s and the Napster and all that stuff, and the way things went down. I mean, we don't. Our royalties are not what they used to be. No. As writers, as producers, we don't. As performers, we don't get paid what we should.
No.
because music is essentially free. Recorded music is essentially free.
Yep.
And that's how it is now. It was never like that before the early 2000s.
No.
That changed everything. That made it a lot more difficult for established artists. It changed things for the good for the unknown artist, because then they could put out anything they want. I could do a record today. Let's see, what time is it? It's almost it's like 4 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
I could go home, record something, put it out by 7.
Right.
And it's out into the world, and anybody, millions of people all over the world could hear it if they can find it.
Right. Right.
That's incredible.
Yep.
That's incredible that artists can do that. You can put something on SoundCloud, you can put something on iTunes, you can get it on Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's algorithms that are created that will draw you to it.
Mm-hmm.
If you like this, hey, check this out. Because there's something in that music that kind of works with this music. So if you like that, you might like this.
Yep.
And there you go. And those algorithms bring you to those artists that you've never heard before. I love that.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and
now it's just a matter of figuring out how we can all get paid the right way.
Right.
Which that'll happen eventually. Just sucks that it's taking too long to figure it out.
Well,
and there aren't enough. There aren't enough people in that are on the creative side that understand how to handle things politically to make that happen. And it's always been like that. The creative people always kind of got screwed.
Absolutely. And visual artists are some of the worst, so many visual artists I know. I mean, musicians, historically, and actors to some extent, and TV writers, what have you, you've had, maybe you've had guilds or unions that have negotiated on your behalf, or, if you were in the music business, there was a business model, there was a culture, industry culture, there was a way things got done.
Right.
On the visual art side, I'm old enough to remember, prior to the digital revolution, there was a real wall between fine art and commercial art. Mm-hmm. That wall exists no more. But I know so many visual artists these days that will jump at the opportunity to work for free. If it's Nike or Coke or whatever, and it's like, fuck, man. I mean, you're never going to get paid. If you're willing to work for free. Right. And yet at the same time, I also understand why they want to work for Nike.
Yeah, I understand that too, but it also diminishes everybody else's work at the same time.
Exactly.
The value of it.
No, exactly. And that's what they don't understand. And yet, it's a very complicated thing because obviously artists are vulnerable. They want to get their work out there. They, maybe don't think about money, or do think, they're not, very savvy in terms of business or what have you. Nike comes knocking. Nike, of course, is very savvy and can exploit these artists. And so I don't know. I mean,
right. Nike's got lawyers. That artist doesn't.
That's right. And so
that's, that's how I got screwed. In the, it wasn't Nike, but it was other, it was record labels saying, oh, he doesn't have a lawyer.
Right. Let's not pay him.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. And I mean, I think, that's why we're doing this podcast. That's why we do our conference. That's why we do so much of what we're doing, because we're trying to encourage artists to understand their power, stand up for their rights, say fuck you to people that want to exploit them.
Right.
But also at the same time, bring in business experts, bring in people that understand negotiating, people understand business, so that
your intellectual property is worth something.
Yes,
that's your future.
Yes.
So preserve it and protect it. Yeah. And you need people to do that.
Right. I mean, here's the deal. Capital, Wall Street can't create to save their lives. They've got money. Right. But they need the artists, right, to make more money, right, and invest that money. And so it's a symbiotic relationship, but we live in a world where 9 times out of 10 the artists get screwed, meanwhile the bankers, do well.
Exactly.
But it is hard to beat free. I mean, like I have many stories of like, I remember years ago, X Games came to LA, and Mountain Dew wanted to do this big, activation with these artists and visual artists, graffiti writers doing this stuff. And they had approached Man One, my dear friend, business partner, and basically
brilliant artist,
great artist, and they wanted him to do it for work. It was like 3 days, of like this thing and like whatever, and basically they were gonna pay him $500 and all the fucking Mountain Dew he wanted or whatever, and he's like, thank you, no. But of course they found some young hungry artists.
That's
who
Mountain Dew is what, Pepsi?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. You're talking to, billions and billions of dollars.
Yep. Yeah. So I don't know. I think
they can afford to pay what you're worth.
Yeah. The best disinfectant is sunlight. I think to the extent that anything we can do to expose and shine a light on these unethical, if not immoral, situations.
Yeah. I saw a post the other day that I'd seen something like that before, but it was like, somebody asked you to do something and say, you're going to get great exposure.
Exposure bucks.
Exposure. And they have the money to pay, but they just think, okay, the exposure.
Yeah.
What they don't understand is you're not just paying for somebody to come and play for 15 minutes or an hour or whatever it is. You're also paying for, their equipment that they put money into, their time that they spent learning that equipment, the time that they spent
hours,
the 10, 20, 30, 50,000 hours they spent learning their instrument and honing their craft, and and everything else that goes with it.
But by the way, nobody questions. This is the classic situation with doctors, right? Like, wait a minute. The doctor saw me for 10 minutes and charged me $500. Yeah, because he's not billing you for his time. He's billing you for the years of education and expertise.
Exactly.
Same deal with music.
Yeah, and I feel that way when I come at somebody with a price tag. That's what it is.
Yep.
Because I put in a lot of fucking hours.
Yep.
And I think I'm worth it.
Yep.
I know I'm worth it.
Yep.
And I think all artists have to think that way.
Mm-hmm.
Their intellectual property is worth it. And the hours that they've put in are worth it. I was walking around the streets of Berlin recently, and I don't know if I've shared any of those pictures with you, but you've been to Berlin, haven't you?
I've not.
There's so much art in Berlin, so much street art in Berlin.
Yeah,
it's incredible. And that art, to me, that art is worth so much money.
Yeah.
Like there's some incredible artwork there, and nobody's getting paid for it.
Nope.
And then if somebody buys that building, they're just going to paint over it like that shit doesn't exist.
Yep. Well,
and that stuff, it's art. Art helps people and heals people and makes life better. Why not pay for it?
Yeah. Well, it is, I don't know if you've been to the Wynwood district in Miami, but this is exactly what happened there. I'm forgetting the developer's name, famous guy, Goldman, Mr. Goldman. We'll call him Mr. Goldman. Mr. Goldman. His daughter runs his company now. He passed away.
Miss Goldman.
Miss Goldman. But basically, Wynwood was this, warehouse district, horrible, dangerous, gritty area. He started buying the shit up, decades ago, whatever. And then, 10, 15 years ago, he had the brilliant idea to ask artists to come and paint murals. And of course, the story. Property values went up. It is now the hippest, coolest, fucking most amazing area in Art Basel, Miami. That's where all the hip shit is if you go to Wynwood.
Right.
And, the bottom line is you walk, everywhere you walk, there's mural. And 9 out of 10 of them are unpaid free murals. And and it's such an interesting phenomena because obviously artists have agreed to do this on some level, right? Somebody said, hey, there's a wall, you want to paint it? They go, yes, right? They're just looking for instant gratification. It's like, I got a mural done. People see my art. They don't think about the fact that that property value is going up and up and up. Obviously, certain people, very few people are getting very wealthy based on that. But this has been gentrification forever, right?
Right. Well, all right, somebody like Banksy.
Yeah.
How did an artist like that become known, and which I'm sure, eventually he got paid well, right?
Well, so,
which I'm hoping.
Yeah. I mean, he's clearly doing fine. But I think, and there's a lot of controversy, or not controversy, lots of mystery around who Banksy is or whatever. I think it's safe to say that whoever Banksy is, he had some level of, security in life, success in life, because he starts doing his art, which has obviously been very smart and clever and, what have you. And his whole brand is built on anonymity. You know what I mean? So it's like, now, obviously, people that need to know who he is know who he is.
Right.
But
he's got to get paid somehow.
Yeah. And so listen, every artist is different. I'm not, I don't want to act like, it's a monolithic community. It is not a monolithic community.
Right,
Everybody's motivated by different, reasons. But, he, I think, had a very smart approach to getting paid. He embraced scarcity. He embraced surprise. He embraced he was provoking. He was controversial. He embraced controversy.
Right. Yeah.
So he had this very kind of almost formula, and it worked for him. There are.
But my question is, there are so many other amazing artists, that are on that level that aren't getting paid.
100%.
Right. I mean, it's same with music, where there's so many incredible artists that are just not making a living.
Yep.
Not even getting by. Not even, not even creating and getting paid enough to survive.
Well, and I think, a big part of it is systemic, because I think it's criminal that, if not immoral and unethical, for an art student to graduate from Art Center and not understand how the art business works. Really.
Right,
I think it's horrible that a musician would graduate from music school and not understand how the music industry works.
Well, when the stuff that they are teaching in schools as far as business is outdated, because 100%. The business has changed so much.
Yeah. I graduated.
There's no practical, a lot of the professors that are there, while they're brilliant, they might not have the practical experience of what's happening in the industry right now.
That's right. Well, and, so I graduated from a small private liberal arts college in Chicago called Columbia College. Mm-hmm. And, they famously, forever, they have famously said, oh, we teach business. And they do. When I went there, we had business classes, accounting, marketing, management, finance, so on as law, whatever. But It wasn't industry specific. It was, because yes, you need to understand the fundamentals of business, and I think what have you, but understanding the culture of an industry, the game of an industry, the players in that game, because each one of these industries has their own unique politics, their own unique culture. True. And that's the inside baseball shit that you only learn in the field usually, and the hard way, right? Being socialized in your industry. And I think that there's a huge opportunity now for these schools, and artists and students should be demanding that they're learning this stuff sooner rather than later.
Yeah, the artists need to know it, going into school.
Yep. Or graduate. They need it by the time they graduate.
That needs to be a part of the curriculum just as strongly as the art, because it's been too long that artists have been, just abused.
Yep.
And art itself has been abused and in so many ways.
I've been a part of conversations over the years, right, where everybody's. I know a lot of good, well-intentioned people who are trying to address this problem and solve this problem in their little ways or in their areas or whatever. And of course, inevitably, you always hear about well, what if we unionize, and what if we did this, and what if we did that? And, maybe some of those things would work, maybe they wouldn't. I mean, part of the challenge, of course, with any of this is that artists are not a monolithic community. Like, they are incredibly idiosyncratic, and
emotional, more emotional than
rational and all of that. But
that goes back to the beginning of time, like the first guy to take a bone and beat on a rock,
right,
and create rhythm. Mm-hmm. He probably got screwed by whoever was like, hey, that sounds cool. Anybody want to hear this? Come on, give me some more rocks.
Yeah.
Give me pelts and
right. Yeah.
Think about Motown. How that music was created.
Yep.
There's some of the creators got their due. Smokey Robinson, who's a brilliant songwriter and wrote most of those amazing hits. Yeah, he did fine. He was, he's an artist himself, But all those musicians, you know, the Funk Brothers, the guys that played on all those records,
Yeah.
barely got paid,
Right.
got no recognition. Not until much later, not until they were dead and gone.
Yeah.
There's only a handful of them left. Probably less than a handful of them left at this point. But those are the guys that created the music. Those are the guys that were playing in clubs at night, and then they'd go into the studio the next morning, and they'd need some music to go to some lyrics that Smokey wrote, and they'd say, "Oh, play that riff you were playing last night."
Right.
There we go. Now we got some music.
So is Berry Gordy a hero or a villain?
Both.
Right.
You know, he's definitely a hero when it comes to business, but you know, when it came time to take care of everybody wasn't taken care of.
Right.
Everybody that should have been taken care of. Have you been to the Motown Museum?
No, never.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait to go.
You go and you feel that vibe. You step into that room, and there's so much history. You know, there's two buildings that you walk through, two houses.
Yeah,
you know,
right next door to each other.
Yeah, right next door to each other. They're connected. There's like a little walkway on the second level that goes between both houses. You know, you walk into that studio, man, you feel that vibe. That's the room where they recorded all that stuff, all those hits. You know, those guys spent hours and hours in that studio just plugging away and creating amazing music that still is so valid to this day. Those songs are
timeless.
Still, it's timeless music. And without those musicians that were there, it still would have been good songs, but they wouldn't have been that. It wouldn't have been that vibe. Those guys created a vibe. You know, it wasn't Berry Gordy saying, "Hey, we're going to do music just like this." It was these guys that had real world experience as players that came in and knew what they were doing, and it felt great. And they had a vibe, and they had groove, and they put love into that music, and they put funk into that music, and it worked. And it worked so well that we still listen to that stuff today, 50 years later.
Yeah, man.
60 years later.
I mean, history is, probably ultimately kinder to the Funk Brothers than to Berry Gordy, quite frankly. I wonder, you know what I mean? Like, because they don't necessarily know it, but history will be kind, right, to the artists who got fucked versus the people that did the fucking, whether it was intentional or not, who knows? But
right. What sucks is it wasn't in their lifetime.
That's right. Right. Well, that's right.
Yeah. They should be able to retire. Their children and their grandchildren should be able to get residuals.
100%.
And that never happened. And that's something that still needs to be addressed to this day because it keeps happening.
Yeah. Well, Taylor Swift just, got into it with fucking Scooter, right? Over, she, her label sold to Scooter or whatever. And she's saying, I don't own my own fucking songs. And
right. He owns the masters.
Yeah. I mean, but it's also
that's part of that business. That's why you gotta know your intellectual property and what it's worth. And you have to own your shit.
Right. Well, but also
don't give it up so easily.
Yeah. Well, young Taylor Swift, right? She's got stars in her eyes. She's got somebody that believes in her. They're going to give her a platform. She's going to sign that deal.
Right.
It's this insidious thing.
Yeah.
I have this little project I'm working on. I don't know, if it'll amount to anything, but, so if you're a physician, right, and you graduate medical school, right, you take an oath, right, to do no harm, right? And doctors take that oath incredibly seriously,
right? Yeah,
right.
They do.
The Hippocratic Oath, right. That inspired me. I've been trying to write kind of an oath that artists would be able to say. And
shouldn't everyone have an oath? I mean, like when you're born, shouldn't you have an oath? There is kind of an unspoken oath, but I mean, everybody should have an oath, right? I mean, we should all be, adhering to some kind of, okay, be nice. Well, be a good person. Don't fuck people.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, by the way, you raise an excellent point because in a world where people have lost their faith in the church, in our government, in business, in whatever.
Right.
What's left? Well, you and me.
Right.
And my commitment to you as your neighbor, as a fellow member of the human race, should be to help you, care for you, look out for you. You should do the same for me.
Right.
Right.
There's your oath right there. That's it. That's it. I took an oath.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people don't think that way, though.
No.
That's sad.
Yeah. Well, it is sad. It is fucking sad.
I mean, I want to help people, starting from my community and reaching out as much as I can, branching out from there. That's why I'd like to make a lot of money so I could just be that, be part of a community and help people. And I'm working towards that. It's really important to me to be able to do that and give to charitable causes and be part of them and help humanity in some kind of way.
Yeah.
Shit, I'd love to go to the Bahamas right now and do whatever I can to help.
Oh
people,
my God. Fuck those poor people. Jesus.
I'd love to go to Puerto Rico and help people there. I'd love to go to Haiti and help people there and, do anything I can. I wish I could do that. I'm a bit of a workaholic. We all are. We all put everything into our work and our everyday lives and trying to get ahead and trying to pay bills and trying to, we get caught up in our lives and forget about humanity. And then we see it on the news and it's so sad. But come on, let's all feel that way. Let's all feel like we need to help. And if we all feel that way, the people that are in the position to help can do it.
Right.
Or help the people that want to do it and put them in that position. Well,
but in my whole thing too, though, is like, because part of it is people just feel overwhelmed and under-equipped, like they, the problems that we face, right, are so big and massive that some people just feel like, well, what can I do? Like, what, and the reality is we can do a lot locally. There's that old saying about, politics are local or whatever, right? And, my whole thing, as corny as this sounds, man, and I know it's totally sounds corny, but I really believe in it. And, I made a commitment a long time ago, took an oath maybe a long time ago, just to be nice.
Right.
Don't be an asshole.
Right.
Be nice to people. Look them in the eye. Hold the door. Say hi, say good morning, take interest in people.
Show respect.
Show respect.
Yeah.
And if you do that on the street around the corner from your house, if you do that at the bank, if you do that at the car wash, if you do that at the drugstore, if you did, and everyone was doing that, suddenly the world would be a nicer, better place.
Yeah, that's something that's missing on a cultural level in this country, in this society. Traveling throughout the world, I see other cultures and other societies that treat people with more respect.
Yes.
Right up front.
Yes, that's right.
Even if it's just an appearance of respect, that goes a long way.
Right.
Start with that.
Yep.
Start with, smiling even if you don't feel like smiling. Mm-hmm. Smile at somebody you don't know. Mm-hmm. Like you said, hold the door for someone. I do that as much as I can. I'm always holding the door for people.
Yep.
And 8 out of 10 times you don't get a thank you.
That's right. But you do it anyway.
Right, but you do it anyway. You don't do it for the thank you. But I'm always surprised.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'd rather be surprised the other way. And and get the thank yous, get the 8 out of 10 thank yous.
Right.
Or 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
But I always wish that the thing I'm qualified for, the only thing I'm really qualified for is making music. I have other things that I dabble in, but I know I can make music and I can do that. I can do that to a certain level. I wish there was something I could do with that, whatever it is, whether it's a skill or a talent or just, hours that I've put in. What can I do that would help other people by doing that? How do I turn art into helping people?
Well, I would argue that making art does something that few other things can do, which is, art, and this might sound, fucking, elitist or whatever, but art feeds the soul. and few other things feed the soul. I mean, you can go out in nature, that'll feed the soul. Maybe if there's a spiritual practice of some kind, obviously that feeds the soul. But art, whether it's music or visual art or whatever, it plays a critical role in our society.
See, I believe that.
Yeah.
I do believe that. I'm not saying that nothing I could do could help people. I do think that music does help people, and art in general helps people on an emotional level. There are other things that I'm trying to work on and trying to develop on a technical side that can help medically in certain ways.
Interesting.
Help in different directions, but which I don't want to talk about that just yet because it's still in the infant stages.
Sure.
But I just there's plenty of artists that have been very charitable that have helped the world heal in certain ways because they made a shitload of money on their music.
Yeah.
And touring, and they said, okay, I want to be charitable and I'll put this money into whatever charity there is. I'd love to do something like that too.
Yeah.
But there's got to be other ways.
Well, yes, and there is. And, it's like one of the things that I really appreciate about my friend and partner, Man One, because I think, there's so much pressure, but I mean, there's we hear about, the big problems, right? The hurricane here, the earthquake there, the famine over there, the war over here, like so many big, major, very important problems that need a lot of good help. But the truth of the matter is that there's so much need right in our backyard, right here in Los Angeles. And, one of the things that I appreciate about what Man One has done in his career is that he has really focused on helping the youth of Los Angeles, embrace their artistic abilities, help them explore their artistic abilities, what have you. And I think that, to your point, right, like it can feel like the old saying, like, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? It can feel so big, but you just break it down. It's like, okay, no, wait a minute. It's right here in our backyard. What can I do at the public school over here with the kids,
right?
To help them? Because, it sounds cheesy, but children are our future, like if
Flea from the Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
He's got Silver Lake Conservatory,
right,
which is a music school. Mainly, I would imagine it's mostly kids.
Yep,
and it's very reasonable.
Right,
I think the lessons are it's probably the same amount of money I spent on lessons when I was a kid when I went to music school.
Right.
So it's accessible music lessons, and I think Flea's doing an amazing thing with that, where he's really spreading his knowledge and his love for music and sharing that with children, and he's doing an amazing job with that.
Yep. Well, and I mean, in all candor, part of the reason why we're doing Not Real Art and our vision for what we're trying to do is, I mean, look, I was a public school kid, but we had a great liberal arts education. Like, it was a public school,
right,
but in a working class neighborhood outside Chicago. But the point is, we had good academics, but we had band and theater and speech team and sports, all that. So the point is, but all that budget, all that money's getting cut. So now, what do you have? You don't have music anymore. You don't have, maybe you have football team probably, but you've got, math and English and whatever. But the arts,
that's the average schools throughout this country.
That's right. And so the point is my question is like, okay,
they can't even get the academics straight in this country. Well,
exactly. Right. So the point is like, well, okay, I am who I am because of those arts programs at my school. Yeah, sure, I did fine. I, was on a roll a little bit here and there, whatever. But I mean, the music and the arts and the theater, that made me who I was. So anyway, the point is like,
I went to a performing arts high school.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. In Philadelphia, and it was still fairly new back then.
Right.
But that I learned so much. That was a college education in music.
Right.
Throughout high school, and yeah, that exists in certain cities. Doesn't exist everywhere. It should be accessible to every kid everywhere. Music, dance, drama, visual arts.
So part of my theory and answer to the problem is like, okay, well, if information education is being taken away, then our mandate is to pump information and education back out into the system.
Yeah.
So if we're doing podcasts where people can tune in and listen to Fish, this accomplished professional musician who's toured all over the world with some of the biggest acts in the world, can tune in and listen to your story for free, right? And be inspired and learn something, then if we're able to do that and spread that and get, like it's part of the solution, right? Because, it's about putting information and education back in the system. And, I don't know, but I mean, it's a big problem. It would take lots of different approaches to solve it. I mean, I think your boy, our boy, Ricky, I think he was pointing out that you've got warehouses of fucking instruments here in LA that are brand new. They were on tour once, but of course they just stack up.
Yeah.
What's happening with those instruments? Why aren't those instruments in the hands of kids that need them? Yeah. Right. Yeah. And, he has this awesome idea to start a nonprofit that helps to do that.
Yeah. It's a great idea.
It's a fucking great idea. I hope he's able to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, put instruments in kids' hands, put paintbrushes in kids' hands, put pencils and paper and, put cameras in kids' hands, just give them tools.
Yes.
And, hopefully the next 20 years will be better.
Absolutely. And, listen, I had a conversation. So a friend of mine, who I've known, he's, 20 years my junior or something, but I've known him for a long time and grown up and stuff. And he was, I ran into him a while back and he was all excited to tell me that he got accepted at, this business school. He was getting his MBA. And, and I guess I didn't, my poker face wasn't so great. He noticed that I wasn't, thrilled that he was getting his MBA, and I congratulated him. I said, "Oh, that's congratulations, that's accomplishment. Good luck, whatever." And
good luck paying that off. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And he said to me, he goes, "Oh, he's like, I guess I would have thought you'd be more excited or whatever." I said, "Well, I said, you're my friend. I said, I'm not going to lie to you. I said, but, truth of the matter is I just feel like the last thing the world needs right now is another MBA. The fucking MBA's got us into this fucking problem, to solve many of the existential issues facing mankind right now. We need creative thinkers who are, are breaking the rules and imagining new rules.
We need philosophers.
Yes.
We need philosophers to change the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think the artists, the designers, the creatives, the musicians, the poets, the philosophers, these are the people that are going to imagine a new reality.
Right.
And I said, I hope that in that business education that you learn design and you learn creativity and you learn some of these things, because that's what's gonna,
or at least learn the importance of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and by the way, to be fair, some like Stanford's MBA program, they actually are doing it's a hybrid business plus design degree now.
That's cool.
It's super cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
I have a good friend who's a brilliant designer, brilliant industrial designer, and world-renowned designer, and he's so smart when it comes to business.
Yeah.
That he's a very, very creative person, but when it comes to business, he's really on top of his shit. And of course, he surrounds himself with the right people, and creatively and on the business side, and has been greatly successful.
What's his name?
His name is Ravi Sawhney.
Oh, Ravi. Shout out Ravi. Yeah.
RKS Design.
Yep. Award-winning, incredible agency.
Yeah. Ravi he's a brilliant designer. The one thing I love about him is he loves people. He loves to put people in certain circumstances and watch them grow. Yeah. And I've seen him give so many people a step up. And he's a brilliant guy. And that's actually one of his designs right there. That water
I have
bottle.
one of those. You turned me out of that.
You have a core bottle?
Yeah, I have a core bottle. Yeah. I'd love to. We should do a podcast with you and Ravi on sometime. You guys have developed some products together, several products together, haven't you? Yeah. That's great.
We have the DNA line of guitar stands, and one of the products that a patent that I share with Ravi is the gig strap, which is like basically like a massaging pressure point thing that goes on a guitar strap that can actually go on anything with a strap. It can go on a backpack. It can go on a,
Right.
any kind of computer bag or, baby carrier or whatever you need it for. But yeah, it's helped me over the last several years that I've been using it. So
Sure.
it's starting to catch on a little bit.
Well, yeah, I can imagine.
And it's not just for us old guys.
Right. Well, by the way, prevention is an ounce of prevention, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's great. I'm so grateful that you came over today to play
man.
podcast.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
Take two is even better than take one, I think. And I look forward to take three. Before we go, will you play us out?
Yeah, I'll noodle.
That was awesome, Fish. Thanks, brother.
Thank you, man.
Hey there. Thanks for tuning in. Please be sure to like this episode and share it with your friends on social. And if you haven't already done so, please be sure to press subscribe and follow us on IG at Not Real Artificial. We appreciate the support. Sourdough out.